How about the new media and trying to contact kids? And you guys put together nice posters, and I know Max does a really good job with that. How does that come about, and how often do you do that? What's kind of the pattern there? Anybody, I guess.
Yeah, you just mentioned Max, and Max Allen is a great addition to our staff. He's been here a couple of years now, and he does a lot of that, the graphics and the social media aspect of it. And but all of us together may have ideas. Tyler may come up with something. Kelvin may have something. Coaches may mention something, and just different ways to connect with your targets, your recruits, and it's just an ongoing process.
Kel, I'm sure when you were being recruited, it was probably your high school coach, your folks. Scott, you've been here a long time. I'm sure that was probably the way it was. It's way different now. You're having to navigate different people. How difficult is that? How do you identify the person that's kind of the bigger influence in a kid's life, or do you have to? How much more do you have to deal with today?
Hit on a little bit. I think, one of the first things is you got to find out who the key person in their life is, whether it's their high school coach or whether it's their mom, their dad, an aunt, a guardian, whoever it may be. I know we're probably a little old school here, but we like to stick within that group. Nowadays there are kind of third parties that are involved, and we try and stay away from those third parties. We try and stick to the people that are around those kids every day and work with them and kind of find out who that key decision maker is. I think it can get hard if you let it get hard. I think our staff, with Coach Ferentz, has kind of made it clear that we're not going to get into those waters. We have never had to. We don't plan on doing it. So we're going to kind of stick to how we've done it and continue to work that way to find the right kid.
It's very much relationship driven, and we pride ourselves on relationships that we have with the high school coaches, and we want to make sure that as Tyler said, we want to know who the key decision maker is. And we want to also who has the best interest of the kid, high school coach, family member, parent, because a lot of times a lot of third parties don't have the best interest of the kid. They have the best interest of the third party.
How fluid are recruiting areas for coaches? You guys have gone back and forth with a few areas. It kind of amazes me how you guys can shift gears like that. Texas is big. Florida was big. Penn State was big, and now it's Chernobyl. But you guys are all. It's weird how you guys switch gears like that. Is that you guys need to stay fluid there?
I think the one thing that makes it fluid is the man at the top. I mean, Coach Ferentz has been here for so long. When you walk into a school with a Tiger Hawk on your chest, the coach, regardless if you've never been in that area before or if you've always been there, they understand what it means. They know what Coach Ferentz stands for. So I think that gives us the flexibility to move around a little bit. Now there's some areas, where you want to put a coach in his niche, like Reese Morgan needs to be in Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota. His name resonates here. And there's other areas that like myself. If I tend to go down south, I have a niche there because I'm from there. I'm a child of the South. So you want to make sure that that you're putting the right people in the right area. But the reputation that the school has, the reputation that Coach Ferentz has, allows us to be a lot more flexible than most have been.
Last year, you guys filled up really quickly, quicker, and it was a big class, and that's sort of you're jumping out there and putting your neck out a little bit. As this class has come in, Coach Ferentz talked about Saturday that as a whole, it's really performing at a pretty high level from true freshmen. Does that validate what you guys have done and what you guys have kind of set in place now?
Yes, I think so. I 100% agree because in that role for this class, I was in Tyler's role as
Sure.
not being able to go out on the road and things of that nature. But I can attest that we were able to fill up, and we were coming off a season that wasn't so great, in the 2014 season. And a lot of these kids that came in really took an interest in Iowa for what we were about. Not necessarily about that season, but just they believed in what we were selling. And we didn't sell them any sugar. There wasn't any promises. We promised them they'd have a chance to graduate. We promised them they'd have a chance to play Big Ten football at a high level. And we promised them that we're going to play for a head coach who's going to be around. And those kids took that to heart. They believe that. You know, and there's no frills in this class. There's no, like I said, there wasn't a lot of sugar given to get those guys here. You know, obviously the new facility and the 12-0 season helps, but as you said, a lot of those guys were committed and locked before the undefeated regular season happened. So, you know, it's about the message that you're giving these guys, the message that you're trying to sell. It's got to be something rock solid. It can't be based on frills and empty promises.
What is your concern? Go ahead.
You guys are like the filters to the, because I assume you're probably getting thousands of prospects, emails, coaches, probably unfortunately some parents and stuff like that. You ever recircle, like for instance, you get some junior tape or video of a kid and it just doesn't look like they're ready to play at this level, and then senior year comes and kid grew 2 inches, gained 25 pounds, looks more like it, because everybody misses on a kid or two, but how often do you guys kind of recircle around to somebody maybe discarded, you know, a year or two early?
Again, I mean, if there's the set of characteristics we were looking for in the get-go from those guys, I mean, you're always going to touch back on them. You know, again, Coach Ferentz is good about, hey, be patient. Guys are going to rise in their senior year. Guys will pop up in their senior year. We don't have to rush. It's not a sprint. You know, it's a marathon. Let's make sure we identify and get the right guys, whether that person is somebody we loved and was a guy from the get-go in their junior year, or if they just kind of blossom a little bit later in their senior year. But you've got to keep an open mind, and you've got to go back. And that's what our staff does a great job of. You know, they don't disregard guys too quick, and they're great at going back and kind of digging guys up and just double-checking on guys that maybe they saw in the spring that they liked, but it wasn't quite there yet. Or a guy that was at camp, you know, just kind of following up the senior year, and that's where our guys do a really good job of continuing to touch base with those guys and kind of seeing where they're at and seeing if it is to go from there.
Tyler, can you talk about your career path? Did you come to Iowa intending to do this for a career, or how did this come about?
I actually came to Iowa as an athletic training major. In my first year at Iowa as an athletic training major, Paul Federici, who is our DFO now, was an athletic trainer at the time. He's a football athletic trainer. So I transferred here from school in Chicago. My head athletic trainer at the time and our VGA both went to Iowa as athletic trainers. So I wanted to work in sports. I got here, spent the year within the program, just kind of get the sense it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't where I wanted to go career path-wise. So I shifted over to business. And I knew I wanted to stay in sports. It was just a matter of how. So I sent, you know, I was one of those crazy parents/coaches. I sent Scott email after email after email for numerous weeks, just begging for an opportunity to come and just start volunteering. So I actually worked for what was the Hawk Shop at that time. I did that for about a year and a half, managing stores in Kinnick. Before Big Ten championship game, I was right outside in the parking lot managing a trailer store for Hawk Shop, freezing a little bit. But did that for a year and a half, and then finally an opportunity presented itself where I got a chance to come work with Scott and kind of just stuck around from there. You know, tried to do everything I possibly could to stick around, whatever I could do to help. I didn't know what way it was going to be, you know, if it was going to be operations or recruiting. I was open to either. I took a liking more to recruiting. You know, just the whole way of putting teams together and kind of digging on kids that, you know, I found really interesting and had a chance to peek into a little bit of what Scott did at the time. You know, at that point it was, you didn't have recruiting departments. You didn't have 5, 6, 7-man support staffs like some schools have now, so it was much, much different. But, you know, luckily, you know, timing was a big thing, and luckily Scott was a tremendous help in kind of taking me under his wing and giving me a view into what he did, and kind of the rest was history at that point. And just kind of moved on, had a chance to work in different things, and then had a chance to go to Vanderbilt with Coach Franklin. I was there for a few years and extremely happy to be back. So I'm doing exactly what I want to do right now and where I want to be. There's something to be said about working for your alma mater, but more than that, it's the people here in this building, Coach Ferentz and our entire staff. You know, I can't stress it enough. When kids are on campus, I can't talk about it enough. You know, the people that are here is what makes this place special, and that's what was the biggest draw in coming back.
There was some controversy though when you left. Would you have left if that hadn't happened? That doesn't come up?
You know, I wanted to kind of see a little bit something different. You know, that's why I went into a completely different region in the United States. I wanted to see what else was out there in terms of recruiting, and I felt like that was a great opportunity at the time with with Coach Franklin and Vanderbilt. I liked it when I went down there, and I felt like it was a good move. My wife and I talked, and we felt like it was the right move at the time, and it was great. And I'm extremely happy I went down there. I learned a ton from that staff, being in a different area. I think it's always good to spread your wings a little bit and kind of see different places, see different staffs. see how different things are done. I think it helps you professionally, and you come back with some different ideas, and not everything fits here, and that's the best part. You know, these guys are open to listening to everything that I try and bring back, but I also know we got to talk through things, you know, what works, what doesn't, you know, type of thing. So, no, I wouldn't change it all, and I don't think that really had an effect at all. Not at all.
How do you address some of the perceptions early between Big Ten and SEC? You know, still just kind of on the outside trying to pick it up. I mean, you see you hear the cutthroat nature of recruiting in the South versus, and I know it's intense here as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific, not about people, but specific that's maybe different? I mean, is there more of a gentlemanly, you know, code of conduct among Big Ten coaches versus the South, or is that, you know, how does that work, or is that?
I think recruiting in general across the country is cutthroat. But again, the beauty of what we do here is we don't care what other schools are doing, and we're not worried about what they're selling. You know, we're going to stick true to what Iowa is and what we've done for the last 17 years with Coach Ferentz and Coach Doyle have built here. So that's the best part is it's going to be cutthroat no matter what. But we're going to be honest and open with the guys we're recruiting. We're trying to identify and find guys that fit Iowa, regardless of their offers, who's recruiting, and what other people are telling them. So it's just such a different situation here. You know, again, it's cutthroat everywhere. It's cutthroat within the Big Ten Conference. You know, there are schools that are recruiting, you know, if you look at the recruiting rankings, they're recruiting at a high level and they're competing with these SEC teams. That's not something we concern ourselves with or worry too much about. So we stick to what we do here and what we want to continue to do.